Let's return to those devastating floods in New South Wales now, where almost 800 properties have been deemed uninhabitable as damage assessments continue. Joining us now is Andrew Hall, who is the Chief Executive of the Insurance Council of Australia. Andrew, welcome back to News Breakfast.
Good morning, James.
You've declared this an insurance catastrophe. What does that declaration actually mean for people on the ground?
Well, this is the highest declaration that the industry makes, and it means that all of our resources are now pointed to the mid-north coast. People who live in the declared areas have priority with their insurers. We have hundreds of insurance staff now here in the communities. We're operating an in-person hub in Tari. So if you are someone who's watching this morning who's been impacted in the mid-north coast and you need help with your claim, the Tari Leagues Club is open from 10 a.m. There are all the insurance brands there. You can call in there and speak to someone face to face.
Yeah, we just lost you for a minute there, so just clarifying, the Tari Leagues Club is the place to go if you do need to speak face-to-face with an insurer. At last check, I saw you were reporting about 5,000 claims. Do you have a ballpark figure for the total cost of this event yet?
We won't know the total cost until we've got the actual claims assessed. That will come in the next week or so. We're looking at a range of damage from homes that have been lost right through to cars and vehicles and commercial and the like. So we will have a better idea of the claims costs in coming days, but this wide event and many homes that are uninhabitable.
We are just having a few connection issues. Will persist and hopefully they'll clear up. The gremlins will get out of our system. Around the nation, your data suggests less than a quarter of homes in the highest risk flood areas have flood cover. Is that simply because the premiums are too high?
Flood is our biggest challenge here in Australia. On the East Coast, we have 220,000 homes that were built literally in the wrong area. And we know that amongst those homes, there's a 41% chance of them flooding every 10 years. We've got to work with government on a solution as to what we can do with those properties. And I think in the aftermath of these floods, we've got to have a conversation about Tari. We've got to have a conversation about completing the flood levy into that city, because I spoke to a number of commercial operators yesterday whose properties flood every few years. We've got to do something either about protecting those properties or buying them back, converting them to car parks. There's lots of options that could be on the table here.
Is it good enough, though, that so many people in exposed areas are uninsured? And will mitigation actually solve this? Or is it, as you suggest, maybe the case that many more properties are going to have to be bought out and effectively suburbs, areas of business moved out of the way?
Well, these are all choices local communities have to make, and they have to weigh up the housing crisis they're experiencing and all those other issues. But the reality is here, we know exactly where these properties are. We've given a lot of that data now to the federal government. We're working with both the federal and the state governments on these properties. If we put all of those properties into the pool and spread that cost, it will put everybody's premiums up. This is our fourth flood this year. It started up in Ingham. It went down as part of Tropical Cyclone Alfred out to Western Queensland and now on the mid-north coast. Flood is our most expensive peril, and it's a challenge because we know which houses will flood and often the extent to which that could happen. So this is an important discussion we've got to have, is if we can reduce the risk. And ultimately, the best thing is for somebody to be living in a home that has zero chance of being flooded every couple of years, or operating a business where they don't have to clean the stock and the cafe out. I think it's really important that we start creating a fund that local government can access. And when they look at proposals like the Mid-Coast Council had last year to build a levy in Tari, that the funding is got an option somewhere to go.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be tens of billions of dollars that presumably the federal government's going to have to stump up for if this idea was to progress. Just before we let you go, though, I'm sure many of our viewers are wondering, with the large cost of this event, is this going to see, regardless, premiums across Australia rise, just given the number of homes that have been damaged?
I think this event is catered for within insurers' reserves at the moment, and if it's not, they can access reinsurance to cover all of that. What is the real driver in premiums at the moment is building inflation. It is costing up to 40% more to rebuild, restore homes than it did 3 years ago. So those sorts of factors and the lack of trades, the lack of builders, I mean, we're going to need an army of electricians up here in Tari over the next couple of weeks. That's the sort of demand these events are putting on the system, and that's where the cost is.
All right, there's more I'd like to discuss, Andrew Hall. We do appreciate you joining us today. I think you're heading into the flood zone, so thanks for making time for us.
Thank you, my pleasure.